You should have me tell like the funnier ones.
Well, I don't know if we have time. Do we have time for any more stories, or maybe next week?
We have a couple of minutes.
Oh no, we want you to savor it.
I just have one. If you can.
Okay.
What would you somebody that was in your situation that's right now that could be seeing this? What could you tell him
About what?
in terms of helping somebody maybe going to recover?
Oh, okay. So I ended up getting help because I was making $100,000 a year with SoCal Edison 7 years ago, and never had touched drugs in my life other than marijuana, but I didn't like it. And I got into it out of boredom, and because I had like fuck you money. Like I had overnight gotten this job, and I don't know why I got into it, but I just figured, oh, I missed that whole phase of my life. So it started like that, but it advanced so fast. It was like I started with cocaine. A year later, I couldn't get high anymore off it. So I remember the first time I touched crystal meth, it was like everything was like, the first time I did it, I told myself, like, this is how I want to feel all the time for now on out. And, you know, and it's that good every time. It's not like a year later and you can't get high anymore. So I didn't see it coming to an end, but it took my job, it took my girlfriend at the time I was going to get married to, my apartment, then I was homeless for like the next 3 years, living out of my truck. Physically, I was all just like unhealthy looking, and my hair was all thin, and the only way I stopped was just knowing that I was either I didn't care about dying though, so I was just sick of it. And what keeps people addicted to something like that, for me, it's you can't get even a day off of it. So because it only took like 10 days to be like, oh my God, I think I can do this now. But to get that break, you need like a place where you could sleep for a week, because the first week you're going to be just sleeping. And so to answer your question, like what if someone wants to get clean, I just would say find someone who understands what you need and will let you just detox, because coming off something like that, I thought it was going to be a lot worse, because you hear about it being the most addictive drug, and it's the relapse rate is like, you know, like under 2% like successfully recover. But and that keeps you, like statistics like that, and all the it's not propaganda, but all the publicity, it's like the posters of meth signs, and you see just like the worst of the worst. That just kept me addicted. But it was after like 4 or 5 days of sleeping, you start coming out of it. If you could do those 4 or 5 days of just stopping, it's amazing how after a month you're like starting to heal. And after 6 months, I wasn't even craving it anymore. But I had to get into a program, so because if you don't have a support system, like for me it was Narcotics Anonymous, and I got a sponsor. That support group kept me motivated, because you can have all the self-will you want, but unless people are checking on you and you have some people around you, I don't know, I mean, I'm sure it's possible, but that's what helped for me. So
did there come a point where you yourself finally had to admit that I have a problem? I mean, I'm sure everybody would tell you, but
yeah.
Is that important?
Admitting it?
Yeah.
It is, because for about 5 years my family was telling me I had a problem. and I was lying and denying that I was even doing it. But once I like when you admit it, you no longer have to hide. So you when you're honest about it, then it's like you're only focused on the path of recovery. But what was your question again?
Yeah,
though?
that was it. And what's it like now, right now, in terms of?
So now, it's weird. It's like when I look back on it, it's like I know that was me going through it, but it's almost a different person, because I remember just being high every day and being in that for so long, like probably 10 years straight if you go back to when I started using Adderall, and I was an alcoholic too throughout most of this.
Yeah.
There were days where I would be on bath salts, cocaine, mushrooms, meth, and Adderall and alcohol all at once at work, and it was like normal. So I never saw like a way of not being on something. I don't even drink coffee anymore, and I even quit smoking, and you know, I'll like that's the worst thing I'll pick up once in a while, but so I'm sorry I'm dragging on with this,
Yeah.
but to answer your question,
And you just came from a job today, right, as well? Right?
Yeah. So I was going to tell you, so the first 6 months, I was terrified that I had ruined myself permanently.
Yeah.
That because you know the whole thing is like you fry your dopamine receptors, and you don't produce like serotonin, and so you're going to be like, you know, 50% from now on out, and the fatigue was terrible for the first 6 months, and I couldn't even work a full day. But after a year, like your body just heals itself. And I was drinking all these I was taking all these herbal supplements, anything that I could read up on that made you produce dopamine more. And I think that may have helped, but honestly, it's just time away from it. And you have to have things in your life. I've had to replace I used to get my dopamines chemically, and now I've relearned how to get it naturally again. So I'm motivated by my job. You know, like I love fixing things for people, and I'm motivated by girls. I'm motivated by the same thing everybody else is. My dog, I love hanging out with my Shih Tzu, stuff like that, and I just don't even think about the drugs anymore. But it's just, I think, anyone who wants to get off it, they can get off it. They just, you know, it sounds cliche to say you just have to want to, but you really do. I mean, I didn't want to for a very long time. I just wanted to live in the shadows. So.
That's really inspirational. Wow, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You guys want to add anything to it, gentlemen?
No. All right.
Have you ever been through anything? Like, have you ever been addicted to anything, or?
Oh yeah.
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 I also used to be bulimic, and 150 pounds overweight. So that's another thing that.
Well, you look amazing. That you should probably be an actor.
And your hair came back.
The hair came back, man. It was thinning. I had like kitten hair for a while.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, it was like one of those flowers that you blow, and all the little things. You know, there's just like real fine, wispy hair. But yeah, my skin used to be all fucked up. It was like my toenails. They looked like parakeet beaks.
Right.
They were all just like gnarly, and just like a year goes by, and like everything just went back to how it was.
You know, I met you when you were living on the street. I mean, I knew you before that, but
And he saved my ass for the last 6 months of it. I lived here, slept on that couch back there.
Yeah.
And the whole time, I didn't know you were using, and I couldn't really figure out why you didn't mind living on the street. But a lot of the time, you didn't mind living on the street. You would tell me, listen, I'd rather go live on the street than have to, like, you know, than if I'm bothering you or whatever. And you would always say, and it was freezing cold.
Yeah.
And
Well,
you
you
didn't care.
when you're loaded all the time, the cold isn't an issue, and plus you're up all night. You're nocturnal when you're living out of your vehicle or something.
There was you had a lot of tricky ways of hiding from the police too. Remember?
Yeah, because that's why you're up all night. You're just constantly moving around. I mean, being homeless at night and like when you're they call it the mobile homeless. You know, people that are car camping, and that's easy because it's just like you're just going. You live at laundromats, any 24-hour place. Denny's, that's like the U.S. Embassy for people living in their car.
Yeah.
Because you have an excuse to be there, you know.
Sure.
But I didn't mind it because my main priority was getting high, and I mind it now, man. I can't believe I used to live like that.
Well, thank you for sharing that really amazing story, man. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks,
All right.
Lance.
Lance always would be scared. Lance is scared of like what's out there at night, like crazy people, and like he's worried about that. And I always tell him like, there's at night, the only thing out there is like you, and an occasional like, you know, bum. But like, there's nothing going on at night. There's no one out there. Cops. That's the main thing.
That was our Halloween story for you in YouTube land. Thank you very much.
Thank you, here, Lance.